The July sun beat down on my brother's backyard as I arrived at his annual pool party. Marcus had spent 3 months bragging about the new house. A sprawling estate with an Olympic-sized pool and an outdoor kitchen. I parked my modest sedan between his Range Rover and his wife's Mercedes. Aunt Lisa, my niece Emma, only 7, ran up to greet me with a genuine smile. She was still young enough not to have absorbed the family's obsession with wealth. "Hey, sweetheart." I handed her the gift bag I'd brought, a science kit she'd mentioned wanting. "Emma, come here." My sister-in-law Jennifer's voice cut across the yard. "We have important guests arriving." Emma's smile faltered, but she obediently ran back toward the pool area. I followed, watching as Jennifer positioned her children like accessories near the elaborate buffet table. My nephew Tyler, 14, stood with his phone, barely acknowledging the arriving guests. Marcus appeared, drink in hand, surrounded by his business associates. "Everyone, my sister finally made it. Lisa works in, what is it again? Public sector." The way he said it made it sound like I collected garbage. I smiled and nodded. "City planning department." Government work." One of his friends chuckled. "The ultimate job security, right? Can't get fired even if you try." I let it slide. I'd learned years ago that correcting my family's assumptions only led to more questions I didn't feel like answering. The afternoon progressed with the usual dynamics. Jennifer showed off every corner of the house. The custom furniture, the imported tiles, the smart home system. Marcus discussed his latest real estate acquisition with anyone who would listen. Their children, coached well, mentioned their private school, their upcoming trip to Europe, their various expensive activities. I sat in a lounge chair reading a book on my phone, content to be invisible. Then Tyler approached with his friends, 3 boys around his age, all dripping wet from the pool. They were loud and confident, the way teenagers get when they're showing off. "Is that your car?" one of them asked, pointing toward the driveway. "The Honda." "Yeah, that's mine." Tyler laughed. "Dude, my mom's car is worth like 5 of those." "Probably," I agreed, not looking up from my phone. "Tyler, don't be rude," Jennifer called out, but her tone was amused, not corrective. "I'm just saying," Tyler continued, emboldened. "We don't usually play with poor relatives at our parties." The backyard went quiet. I could feel everyone's eyes on me. Marcus didn't correct his son. Jennifer actually smiled like Tyler had said something clever. Several guests looked uncomfortable, but no one spoke up. I closed my phone and looked at Tyler directly. "That's an interesting perspective." "It's just facts," he shrugged. "My dad says you never really made anything of yourself. Government salary, no husband, renting an apartment at your age." Marcus stepped in finally, but not the way a parent should. "Tyler, I mean, it's not wrong, but we don't say it out loud." He was trying not to laugh. Jennifer added, "Your aunt made different choices. Some people prioritize career ambition. Others prioritize comfort." The word comfort dripped with condescension. I stood up and gathered my things, my book, my sunglasses, the light jacket I'd brought. "I think I'll head out. Thanks for having me." "Oh, don't be sensitive," Marcus said. "Tyler's just being honest. Kids these days, right? It's fine." I slung my bag over my shoulder. "Really?" Emma ran up and hugged my leg. "Don't go, Aunt Lisa." I knelt down and kissed her forehead. "I'll see you soon, sweetie. Enjoy your party." As I walked through the side gate, I heard Tyler say something else, probably another joke at my expense, followed by laughter. I didn't turn around. The drive home was quiet. I stopped at my favorite Thai place, picked up dinner, and settled into my apartment with a glass of wine. My phone buzzed around 7 o'clock. "Marcus. Hey, just checking. You're still good for tomorrow, right?" I stared at the message. "Tomorrow. Of course. What's tomorrow?" I texted back, knowing exactly what tomorrow was. "Very funny. The kids' trust fund release. Tyler turns 14, Emma turns 7. The trust releases the first installment. $50,000 each. We've been planning this for months. Tyler wants to invest his in his gaming setup, and we're putting Emma's toward her equestrian lessons." I sipped my wine and considered my response. "Remember when I set those up?" I typed. "Back when you two were struggling with student loans and couldn't qualify for life insurance policies with good cash value? Yeah, you really helped us out back then. We appreciate it. So tomorrow at the bank, 9 a.m. Who's the trustee on those accounts, Marcus?" A long pause. Then, you are. That's why we need you there to authorize the release. Right. I am the trustee. Another pause. I could imagine him starting to feel uneasy. Lisa, what's going on? You're not still upset about this afternoon, are you? Tyler's a kid. He didn't mean anything. He meant exactly what he said. And you and Jennifer backed him up. Oh, come on. Don't be dramatic. So tomorrow. Not happening. I sent the text and turned off my phone. The next morning I woke up to 17 missed calls and 32 text messages. I made coffee, did my morning yoga, and finally turned on my phone at 8:15 a.m. The messages were increasingly frantic. Marcus, Lisa, where are you? We're at the bank. Marcus, they're saying the release is on hold. Marcus, what did you do? Jennifer, this is ridiculous. Those funds are for our children's future. Marcus, call me now. Jennifer, you're being petty and childish. This is about the kids, not you. At exactly 8:30 a.m. I called the bank. My private banker, David, picked up on the first ring. Good morning, Lisa. Your brother and his wife are here. They're quite upset. I imagine so. Can you put me on speaker? Of course. I heard the click, then Marcus's voice. Lisa, what the hell is going on? Good morning, Marcus. Jennifer. How was the rest of the party? Cut the crap. Why isn't the trust releasing? Because I'm the trustee and I haven't authorized the release. David, can you explain the trust structure for my family? David's professional voice came through. Certainly. Ms. Lisa Patterson established 2 irrevocable trusts 14 and 7 years ago, respectively. She funded both trusts with substantial initial contributions, $200,000 for the first trust, $100,000 for the second. The trusts were designed to release funds at specific ages, subject to trustee approval. Trustee approval? Jennifer's voice was sharp. We were told it was automatic. No, Mrs. Patterson. The documents are quite clear. Ms. Patterson maintains full discretionary authority over all distributions. The age milestones are eligibility markers, not automatic triggers. I heard papers rustling. Marcus was probably grabbing the documents they'd never bothered to read. Lisa, you can't do this, Marcus said. We've made commitments based on this money. What kind of commitments? I asked. Tyler's gaming setup is already ordered. Emma's writing lessons are paid through the year. We told them they could use their trust funds. So you spent money you didn't have, assuming I'd just hand over the funds? It's their money. Jennifer shouted. Actually, David interjected. Legally, the funds remain under the trust until distributed. Ms. Patterson is both the grantor and trustee, which gives her considerable latitude in distribution decisions. Why are you doing this? Marcus's voice had shifted from angry to desperate. Is this really about Tyler's comment? He's a kid. It's not about one comment, Marcus. It's about a pattern. It's about 14 years of assumptions. You've spent over a decade treating me like the family charity case while I've quietly funded college savings, trust accounts, and emergency funds for your family. Silence on the other end. What are you talking about? Jennifer finally asked, her voice smaller. David, can you pull up the other accounts? Certainly. I'm showing 3 additional accounts under Ms. Patterson's management. Account 1. College Fund for Tyler Patterson, current balance $487,000. Account 2. College Fund for Emma Patterson, current balance $278,000. Account 3. Emergency Fund for Marcus and Jennifer Patterson, current balance $125,000. That's over $800,000, Marcus whispered. Plus the trust funds, we're looking at just over $1.1 million that I've set aside for your family over the years, I said calmly. I started the emergency fund when you bought your first house and were stressed about the mortgage. I opened Tyler's college fund the month he was born, and Emma's the week after she arrived. Why didn't you tell us? Jennifer asked. I tried to multiple times. But every family gathering became a performance of how successful you were and how I'd settled for mediocrity. It was easier to just let you believe what you wanted to believe. So what now? Marcus asked. You're cutting them off? Punishing the kids for something we did. The college funds remain intact. Those were always meant for Tyler and Emma's education, and that won't change. But the trust fund distributions? Those require a conversation about respect, humility, and the difference between wealth and character. We'll apologize, Jennifer said quickly. Marcus, apologize to your sister. No, I interrupted. I don't want performative apologies. I want you to think about what you're teaching your children. Tyler learned yesterday that it's acceptable to mock someone's financial status. Emma is learning that love has a price tag. Those are lessons that will hurt them far more than a delayed trust fund distribution. David cleared his throat. Miss Patterson, shall I schedule a follow-up meeting? Let's plan for 3 months from now. That gives everyone time to reflect. Marcus, Jennifer, the funds aren't going anywhere. But neither am I. I'm not the poor relative you tolerate at parties. I'm the person who's been quietly ensuring your children have opportunities you couldn't provide alone. Lisa, Marcus started. 3 months. We'll revisit everything then. David, thank you for your time. Of course, Ms. Patterson. I ended the call and sat back in my chair. My coffee had gone cold, but I felt warm inside. Not from revenge or schadenfreude, but from finally setting a boundary that should have been set years ago. My phone rang again, Marcus. I let it go to voicemail. An hour later, a text from Emma appeared. Someone had helped her write it. Aunt Lisa, I'm sorry if I was mean. I love you. Can we still do science experiments together? I smiled and texted back immediately. Of course, sweetheart. I love you too. How about next Saturday at the Science Museum? Her response was immediate. Heart emojis and excited exclamation points. The following week, Marcus showed up at my apartment. No announcement, no warning. I opened the door to find him standing there looking smaller somehow. Can I come in? I stepped aside and let him enter. He looked around my apartment, the one he'd dismissed as evidence of my failure. I watched him notice the original artwork on the walls, the custom built-in bookshelves, the view of the city skyline. Nice place, he said quietly. Thanks. Coffee. Please. We sat at my kitchen table, the same one where I'd planned his children's financial futures while he'd assumed I was barely getting by. I read the trust documents last night. Actually read them for the first time. He began. You set up Tyler's trust right after I lost my job at the consulting firm. When we were 3 months behind on our mortgage. You never asked for help. But I knew you needed it. Emma's trust was established the week Jennifer's mother died. When we were drowning in funeral costs and medical bills. I remembered how much that was weighing on you. Marcus rubbed his face. And I spent yesterday afternoon telling my son that his aunt was a failure, while sitting in a house I could only afford because you co-signed the loan when our credit was terrible. I'd forgotten about the co-signing. That was 8 years ago. I didn't do any of this for recognition, Marcus. I did it because you're my brother and I love your kids. But I won't accept being treated like a cautionary tale at your parties. Jennifer and I talked all night. Really talked, maybe for the first time in years. We realized we've been so focused on appearing successful that we forgot what actually matters. And we've been teaching our kids the same toxic values. Tyler's 14. There's still time to correct course. He cried last night when I explained what you'd done for him. For all of us. He wants to apologize in person. I'd like that. But more than apologies, I want to see change. Real change in how your family thinks about money, success, and people's worth. Marcus nodded. The trust fund money. When you decide to release it, we're not using it for gaming setups or expensive hobbies. We're going to have Tyler volunteer at a financial literacy program for kids. Let him learn what money really means. That's a good start. He stood to leave, then turned back. Can I ask you something? What do you actually do? Because I realized yesterday that I've spent 14 years assuming you were barely scraping by, and I never actually asked. I smiled. I'm the Deputy Director of Urban Development. I oversee about $300 million in city infrastructure projects annually. I also serve on 3 nonprofit boards and consult for a sustainable housing initiative. I rent because I travel frequently and prefer not to maintain property. And I drive a Honda because it's reliable and I don't care what car I drive. Marcus stared at me. Deputy Director? You're practically running the city planning department. Assistant running it. My boss is the director. Why didn't you ever correct me? Would you have listened? Or would you have found another way to diminish it? He flinched but didn't argue. Fair point. Can we start over? Not go back 3 months but actually start fresh. I'd like that. After he left, I stood at my window looking out over the city I helped plan and build. The trust funds would eventually be released. Tyler and Emma would learn important lessons about humility and gratitude. Marcus and Jennifer would either grow from this experience or they wouldn't. But for the first time in years, I felt like I could show up to family gatherings as myself. Not as the poor relative who needed their pity, but as the aunt who quietly ensured everyone had opportunities to thrive. My phone buzzed. Emma again. Daddy says you're really important. Are you like a superhero? I laughed and typed back, not a superhero. Just your aunt who loves you very much. Sometimes the best power reversal isn't about proving your worth to people who doubted you. It's about finally refusing to shrink yourself to fit their limited perception of who you should be. The money was never the point. The respect was. And respect, I'd learned, couldn't be inherited, invested, or released from a trust fund. It had to be earned by everyone involved.